love sports. I love watching a great game, seeing my favorite team win, and of course the snacks you can get when you're watching at any stadium. But my favorite thing about sports are the stories. Some of the most incredible stories come from the world of sports. Like when a gymnast lands that difficult move to win the gold medal. When the player who almost got cut from the team scores that winning goal. When the marathon runner who came back from an injury crosses the finish line. When the team nobody thought would ever win a game takes home the championship. What do all these stories have in common? I'll tell you, it's one thing: resilience. That's what I think they all have in common. What exactly do I mean when I say the word resilience? Well, when I think of resilience, I think of the ability to keep going even when things are hard. Showing up to face the difficult things in life rather than running away from them. Knowing that you're going to be okay even when things don't turn out the way that you'd hoped. Choosing to never give up, bouncing back and growing stronger after you've struggled, failed, or faced hard stuff in your life. That's resilience. And that's exactly what we'll be talking about together over the next few weeks in this new series called Never Give Up. To start, let's just be really honest. Some of us can't master our favorite video game. Some of us can't seem to grasp that math concept or grammar or science. Some of us have had a hard time finding a great friend. Some of us have had our hearts broken. Some of us have tried out and didn't get to make the team. Some of us have parents who have decided that they don't love each other anymore. Some of us have experienced the death of someone very close to us. Some of us know how it feels to be treated differently based purely on our gender. Some of us know what it's like to be discriminated against because of the color of our skin. So right away, it's important for me to say this. No one can or should make you feel like the pain that you've experienced from the setbacks in your life didn't hurt a lot. Not getting that role in the play, a broken heart, the loss of a friend, divorce, disease, and even death. These things hurt. And the reason they hurt is because you care. You should feel the sting of these things because we know that whatever it is you've gone through, those setbacks have been really difficult. In one way or another, all of us have dealt with something really painful, really hard, or really challenging. The kind of stuff that makes us want to stop showing up, stop trying, stop fighting to keep going. The kind of stuff that makes us want to give up. And I know, because I've been there. Some of you know that I didn't live the best life growing up. I made a lot of mistakes, and a lot of them ended with me being arrested. Others made people I love the most not trust me or even want to see me. With that being said, I stopped going to school freshman year. This was definitely one of the worst mistakes in my life. I needed help. I didn't know how to ask for it. Everyone close to me was busy dealing with their own problems. My parents, my mom and stepdad were getting divorced. The worst part was they didn't even know I had dropped out of school until the school called saying I hadn't been there in 2 weeks. I know my decision let my mom down, but I was dealing with way bigger mental issues that needed to be addressed. I was depressed. I hated myself. I hated where I lived. And I missed my dad. I just wanted to give up on everything. Maybe you felt defeated, worn down, unsure if you could handle it, or ready to quit trying. And I wish I could tell you that stuff like this would eventually work itself out. The older you get and the more you grow up, the less likely you'll be faced with hard things in life. But sadly, that's just not true. Trouble will always find us. Challenges will always be there for us. And it's not because we've done anything to deserve it. It's simply because this is life. And that's the bad news. But the good news is that life isn't the way it's supposed to be. All the difficult, hard, painful stuff that we're going to deal with, that's not the way God intended for it to look for any of us. God did not intend for life to be painful. However, pain is now a reality in our world because of sin. The things that we do keep us from a close relationship with God. But the truth is, God promises to be with us when we experience pain and make things right one day. Now, I get that this can be hard to believe at times because I think for a lot of us, there is this idea that following Jesus means our lives will always be incredible. That if we believe in God and live the way God calls us to live, that means that we'll have no pain, no difficulty, no heartache. But then life happens. The difficult shows up. That can make us feel like we're ready to give up and we're not dealing with it. It can even make us feel like we're ready to give up on God. But remember, the good news is that God didn't intend for life to be like this. God promises to be with us in the pain. God is able to use the pain to build perseverance and resilience. And because God understands pain, God knows how we feel when we experience it. That means God helps us to keep going, to keep hoping, to keep believing, to be resilient in everything that we might go through. So, thousands of years ago, there was this guy named Paul. He had plenty of reasons to want to give up. See, Paul started out as a not-so-great guy. He treated people pretty terribly, especially people who believed in and followed Jesus. Until one day, Paul met Jesus for himself and everything changed. Knowing Jesus changes everything, and it certainly did for Paul. Soon, Paul became the guy that not just followed Jesus, but led the spreading of Jesus' message around the world. He was a leader in the early days of Christianity. He helped to start so many churches and change so many lives in really great ways. You'd think that life got great for Paul at that point, right? Wrong. In a letter he wrote to another church that he started, he talked about all the trouble he dealt with since deciding to follow God. Look at this. I have been put in prison more often, been whipped more times without number, and faced death again and again. 5 different times the Jewish leaders gave me 39 lashes. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. Once I spent the whole night and day adrift at sea. I have traveled on many long journeys. I faced danger from rivers and robbers. I faced danger from people of my own, the Jews, as well as the Gentiles. I have faced danger in the cities, in the deserts, and on the seas, and I have faced danger from men who claim to be believers but are not. I have worked hard and long, enduring sleepless nights. I have been hungry and thirsty, and I have gone without food. I have shivered in the cold, without enough clothing to keep me warm. Did you catch all that? Imprisoned, whipped, faced death, lashed, beaten with rods, stoned with rocks, shipwrecked, adrift at sea, danger after danger, hungry and thirsty and cold. Sounds intense, right? But here's what I think is important to notice. Paul had every reason to give up, but instead, he kept going. Take another look at what he wrote to another one of his churches that he served. He said, "No, dear brothers and sisters, I have not achieved it, but I focus on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead. I press on to reach the end of the race and receive my heavenly prize, for which God, through Christ Jesus, is calling us." The it that Paul was referring to is the idea of knowing Jesus fully. The moment Paul met Jesus, his life, his views of what was important in life changed drastically. However, Paul didn't believe that he fully knew Jesus yet. Remember, knowing Jesus changes everything, and that includes the way that we face the hard, difficult, unfair stuff in our lives. Without the hope that we have that Jesus will one day make all the good things right, we are tempted to just give up. And resilience helps us to never give up. Look back at what Paul said just after that. Forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead, I press on. In other words, he was saying that the Jewish heritage or his past achievements weren't the end goal. He chose to forget about the unworthy goal that he was trying to reach in the past, because now he had a new goal that he was looking at and was running towards. He had a new promise he was never giving up on. Paul's new goal was to know Jesus completely. He would receive a prize when he reached that goal, but he would only reach that goal when he stood face to face with God. Nevertheless, he pursued the whole goal while living here on earth, because he wanted to get to know Jesus as well as he could before entering into God's presence. No matter what he walked through, no matter what knocked him down, Paul kept his focus on knowing Jesus more through it all. See, keeping our focus on Jesus helps us find the resilience that we need to keep going. When we get knocked down, or we are better able to bounce back up when we trust in His Spirit being with us, working for us, and has more ahead for us than we can see right now. I know that this is possible. I know that we all have it in us to bounce back. I know that with Jesus, resilience is possible for all of us, and I know that because I've experienced it. My life didn't improve for a long time. 10 years down the road, I was sitting at a crossroad. I had a choice to make, and depending on what I chose, I could lose my daughter forever. Good news is, I made the right choice. I quit using drugs, I started being the dad that I never had, and now God uses all the bad choices that I made growing up to help guide students towards Him. I continue to try harder and harder every day to be the man that God intends me to be. I'm still not there, and just like Paul, I won't be there until I meet God face to face. But see, resilience helps us never to give up. When you find yourself facing a setback that has you ready to give up, stop and ask yourself these things. What's happening? In other words, identify the situation you're in that's making you want to give up. What's happening to cause the pain, the stress, the hardship in your life right now? And what do you wish was different about this situation that you're in? One of the first steps towards building resilience is to be honest with yourself about what you're facing and how you want it to change. Second, what is true no matter what? When we're facing difficulties of any kind, it's important to focus on what is true. Remember, this is a tip that Paul himself gave us. When we focus on the power of Jesus in our lives, that's going to help us build resilience. So consider what's true no matter what you're facing. That God loves you, He's with you, and He didn't intend for life to look like this. That, with our eyes on Him, we can begin to bounce back. We can have resilience. And third, what can I do? The truth is, so many of the setbacks we'll face in life will be out of our control. But that doesn't mean that there's nothing that we can do to help us dig deeper and find resilience. We need to keep going. So think about what that looks like for you. What's a good first step to help you start practicing resilience? Whatever is for you, think about one thing that you can do in the face of hard, difficult things to help you keep going. Remember, resilience helps us to never give up.